हेलो।
हेलो।
हाँ जी, आवाज आ रही है आपको?
गुड मॉर्निंग मैडम।
गुड आफ्टरनून सर।
गुड आफ्टरनून मैडम।
आगे बाकी लोग
आ रहे हैं मैडम।
experience of 14 years and has published various papers on national and international issues. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of our Head of Department, Professor Dr. Pallavi Gupta, Dr. Ajay Kumar Tyagi, and members of the committee. I would now like to request Professor Dr. Pallavi Gupta to welcome you, sir. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ashna. On behalf of Jim's School of Law, we can say Jim's family, I welcome you, sir, Advocate Avinash. Today we call this meeting to connect with our alumni time to time. You know, during this natural disaster, or we can say man-made disaster, this COVID-19, we were, locked at home. That time we were thinking it's a very negative, and this and that, so many disturbance in our life. There was a institutional background, and there is some social impact also. But in this unlock phase one, we have to see, we have to go further, we cannot stop. So we will see what new changes we can see in all aspects of life, even in legal practice. So let us discuss with our alumni, and first from your side, what we can see the new changes in legal practice. Thank you very much, sir. You have taken time to interact with us on this by this new platform, is online. So this is the also is a positive, we can say, impact of COVID-19. So this is the technology, so we can connect even without moving here and there. So it is really very, we can see the positive impact of this post-COVID in legal practice. So thank you very much. You are coming. You come, and you have come and interact with our guys, alumni. Thank you very much, sir, and welcome you all. And all the alumni, I welcome you all. So you have taken time and come with us, come here and interacting with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the address. I welcome everyone here. So we can start with this session.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. It's indeed a pleasure to be on this platform. And let's talk about with negativity first, because there are so many positive things, as ma'am has pointed out. So those who are in the legal practice, it's an unprecedented crisis. It has been since last 3 months. We are not able to go to court. We are not able to go to offices. We are not in a position to go to our law firms. So all of us is facing some kind of difficulty. There is no doubt about it. There is a issues of health. There is a issue of safety. There is a issue of economic gain. All these things are there. But then, if you look at how it has been affected all of us, I don't think anybody has escaped so far from this crisis. So that is one thing. But if you look at the legal sector, I'm sure most of you are in practice. Some of you may be in a law firm. Some of you may be in an individual practice. some of you may be working in district court or the high court or the Supreme Court or some XYZ tribunal. So we all are facing this difficulty for sure. But then the question is, what is the way forward? What exactly we are trying to look into? Whether it's going to be permanent, I don't think there is any argument that it's going to be permanent. No, it's not going to be permanent for sure. We have so many pandemic in the past, maybe in the future. So we have to somehow face it. Now the question is how we have to face it. Negativity that we are not in a position to earn, we are not, a lot of people are jobless, a lot of people are not in a position to appear in court. But then there is some kind of silver lining, which I look into it. One is just first, I would say, just try to utilize this time, which we don't have otherwise, to do our own study, our own research, our own finding. I'm not asking you to look into your client files or look into the client matter if it is not that urgent. But then there are so many different things for which you have always be complaining that, oh, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to read this judgment. I don't have time to read this book. I wanted to do some kind of expertise in say XYZ area of law, which I'm not in a position to do because of the job constraint, because of the court pressure, because of XYZ different things. So it is also an opportunity to explore your own interest. For example, supposing those who are practicing say in district court, they must be always trying to figure out, oh, what we studied in CPC, CRPC or say evidence, and the court practice is altogether different. And now what we are looking in court is altogether different things. So what we should do? Of course, we have studied all these subjects in law school, but now we have also seen the functioning in court, how it's going on. So this vacation time, I would say, is also an opportunity to literally go back to our books and try to figure out what exactly we are looking, what we are seeing in court in day to day, and what was those concepts. So my first suggestion would be try to utilize these time to polish your own skill, to have your own reading stuff, whatever you want to do. If you have a time, try to read the cases which may be pertaining to your own subject. For example, some of you may be practicing say in NCLT, and you have heard about this insolvency and bankruptcy code. So those who couldn't have time initially to look into these case laws and say these laws, so you have a wonderful time to, I would say, upgrade your skill. And now we are in profession, so you must have an idea that what all things you should know or you should learn in order to enhance your skill. That's the number one. Second thing, which all we should be thinking about, which was not the situation say 3 months back. Just try to look at the technology, the technological advances, which is being advanced by all courts. I would say 3 years back, you could not have imagined a lawyer sitting in UK is appearing in Supreme Court of India. Nobody could have thought about it, because if you want to appear in court, you have to be here, you have to personally go to court, and personally you have to present your case. But now, thanks to these technological advances and this COVID, lawyers sitting say in UK are appearing before Supreme Court of India. So we have to take help of these technology. Those of us who was not that comfortable in technology, I think they also have to somehow adopt to this situation. I know a lot of conservative lawyers and the traditional lawyers used to dictate to their client, say their steno and their office staff for any dictation or XYZ things. But then in this pandemic, I don't know whether you can call your own staff, you can call your own peon, you can call your own juniors, you can meet briefing lawyers. It's though people are trying to manage, but then somehow you yourself has to be adaptive enough to take care of these technology. So that's the number two, that we have to adopt, we have to involve in all these technological advances. In the last 3 months, you look at any court, be it a Supreme Court or be it a High Court, every day they are coming out with some kind of circular, some kind of guideline, some kind of SOP, standard operating procedure, that how hearing is going to be conducted. So this is something which we have to learn. As a lawyer, mind you, we have to every day try to learn something. We cannot just remain idle saying that, oh, I know enough, I don't want to learn anything more, and whatever I have learned, I need to practice. Of course, whatever you have learned, you are actually practicing. But at the same time, every day is a new learning experience. So you have to inculcate this habit of learning something, be it a technology, be it books, be it a journals, be it a case law, be it a court procedure, be it a court craft. Some of you who may hate, I would say that I don't want to read any case law, I don't want to read these books, I don't want to read XYZ. But then there are so many different alternatives of learning. For example, all of you, those who are saying litigation, all of us try to aspire to be X, Y, Z kind of senior, that how they argue, how they present their case, how they summarize their petition, what's their court craft. So if you don't want to read, so other alternative perhaps is try to watch what these senior people has been doing. And I would say the YouTube is the best example you can think about. By one click, you will get to know X, Y, Z senior, their lectures, their say commentary, their expert opinion on different subject of law. So my sense is, if you are sitting at home and unfortunately, if you don't have that much time, so going to the office or going to the court because everything is closed. So my sense is you try to utilize technology and try to at least watch, instead of watching say 2 movie, what you can do perhaps if you watch 1 hour or 2 hour, getting into what other people are doing or other people are saying about a particular subject. For example, somebody may be interested say in criminal law. And if you just go to the YouTube and you will find all senior advocates has delivered X, Y, Z lecture during this pandemic. And not just during this pandemic, even if you can just click on any XYZ senior and you will get to know all the videos, and then perhaps that's the best thing to watch these days because you have ample time and you don't have to commute to X place to the Y place to the Z place. So all of us is going to have a lot of time these days, and I'm sure you need to utilize that. Similarly, a lot of us are worried about our job prospect, those who are in job, that what will be the future of your job, what will be the future of your employment, what will be the future of your... No doubt, nobody had escaped. But then, just try to look from this perspective. Whatever learning you have done in law, whatever your input is in terms of understanding, in future, it's going to reward you for sure. So it's like this, that supposing you have developed your expertise, say in check bounce cases. So there could be possibility that you know everything, but you don't have a client. But this learning is not going to waste for sure. Because in the future, you may have somebody who wanted to have, say, 10 matters to be done through you, and he is going to give you just 1 week time. So if you are already equipped, if you are already aware of your principles, you are already aware of the court craft, you are already aware about the court system, so you will be in a better position to cater to whatever is the expectation of your client. So that is something which also we need to look into. I'm actually not sure what alumni is doing. Can somebody give a feedback? Most of you are in in practice, or most of you are working. So somebody can just say something, what exactly alumni is doing. Any comment?
Dharmendra, can you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself? Dharmender Kamti.
Hello everyone. Sir, I'm doing job in SNG and Partners. It's a corporate practice firm.
Okay.
Basically, it's an advisory firm.
Okay.
So I'm dealing in banking and finance sector as well as corporate advisory.
Okay.
So sir,
I
as such,
would
yeah, ma'am, please.
I would like to mention all the alumni are working.
Okay.
They are Supreme Court lawyer, or they are doing some NGO work, and two students are working in Parbal Duggal, and one student is working in Vidalsa. So in that way, all the students are working either in their own business or in legal professions.
Okay. Okay.
Dharminder, please.
या लकीली सर इतना इफेक्ट तो कुछ नहीं हुआ है, इनफैक्ट इंक्रीज हो गया एडवाइजरी कॉर्पोरेट एडवाइजरी का काम, बट या बैंकिंग एंड फाइनेंस सेक्टर काफी ज्यादा हिट हुआ है एज बिल्डर्स वगैरह अभी लोन नहीं ले पा रहे क्योंकि उनके प्रोजेक्ट सारे अभी क्लोज्ड है। तो कॉर्पोरेट में तो इतना इफेक्ट आया नहीं, बेसिकली कंपनीज वगैरह का चल रहा है, बट आपने अभी रिसेंट सुना होगा कि आईबीसी का डिफॉल्ट अमाउंट 1 लाख to 1 करोड़ कर दिया गया है। तो इसका इफेक्ट बेसिकली यंग लॉयर्स पे काफी हुआ है क्योंकि प्रीवियसली यंग लॉयर्स के लिए काफी अच्छी अपॉर्चुनिटी निकली थी एनसीएलटी में। क्योंकि अब जिनका डिफॉल्ट मोर देन, मतलब अगर सपोज आई एम अ कंपनी, मेरा डिफॉल्ट 1 करोड़ के ऊपर का है तो मैं किसी छोटे लॉयर के पास तो जाऊंगा नहीं। तो उस सेक्टर में काफी ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट हुआ बेसिकली जूनियर लॉयर्स को।
Yeah, Dharminder, I have a few quick comments to make. You see, opportunity is being lost in one area, but then it's a gain somewhere else. I can just give an example. Said rightly that threshold now is 1 crore for approaching NCLT because of this amendment the ordinance. But then just try to think from this perspective. अगर किसी का 50 लाख का है या 75 लाख का है या 60 लाख का रिकवरी है, सपोजिंग देयर इज सम फाइनेंशियल क्रेडिटर or operational creditor who is having just 50, and that person is not in a position to approach NCLT because of this amendment. So what is the alternative? Alternative is you need to go to the debt recovery tribunal where you can have a case anything more than 10 lakh rupee. You can go to file a summary suit in the district court, which otherwise people were reluctant. So NCLT में case नहीं जाएगा, that I agree. But then if you have some client who says कि जी मैंने 50 लाख का माल सप्लाई किया XYZ entity को and they are not going to pay, then you can advise, oh NCLT you can't go, forget about, we are going to file a summary suit in the district court. Some bank or say financial institution, for them the say door of DRT, debt recovery tribunal, is always open. So if it is a loss of work at NCLT, then it's a gain of work somewhere else. It may be a civil court, it may be a say DRT, you may have a proceeding under SARFAESI, securitization, or you may have a proceeding under the Recovery of Bank and Financial Institution Act of 1993. So it's a basically recalibrating that somewhere you try to lose your work, but at the same time you are also gaining work somewhere.
Yes, sir.
Any other participant want to say something?
Pranav, would you like to share? Kamshad, you would like to share?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. So, sir, I'm working in a cyber law firm.
Okay.
So, there are increased number of cases nowadays we are dealing with, as cybersecurity breaches are happening in numerous numbers. So there is no such impact on our work.
And so you are mostly in what? In litigation or in advisory or both?
In advisory and compliance.
Advisory and compliance.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you are finding that things are, in fact, disputes are on rise.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There are n number of cybersecurity breaches. Like we have seen breaches on many hospitals. Many critical infrastructures are being targeted. So there are n number of cases. There is no such impact of COVID-19 on our profession.
Okay. I can just take all of you back, say in 2008, 2009, when this subprime crisis in US happened. I was in Netherlands for my masters, and there was a lot of market meltdown, recession, depression, and all these things in the US, and the stock markets were crashing. So soon after my masters, I was working in an international firm, Linklaters, in Brussels office in Belgium, and they were advising Lehman Brothers, who collapsed indeed in the Wall Street in New York. And I still remember the firm was advising how you should collapse, how systematically you have to finish your work, how systematically you have to comply with the winding up procedure or the Chapter 11 insolvency thing in the US. So different things were happening there. So even if things is going in upside, or things are going downside, in both situations, the job of a lawyer is going to be required for sure. I can give you another example. In these days, you are finding in India, especially all these metropolitan, there is a lot of landlord-tenant issues, right? I'm sure a lot of you have come across that the tenants are not paying. Landlords are insisting that they should be paid. Any of you have faced this situation? Or any of your clients that because of the rent or lease deed or say rental, some kind of issues are being faced? Any one of you have come across?
I think just I heard from the students,
Okay.
those who are living in the PGs and rented flats. So they were having these issues.
Now, there are two ways. One is I would say the private leads, the private tenants, and another is the commercial one. For example, दिल्ली के सीएम ने कहा कि no landlord is going to insist for the payment of rent from his or her tenant. So what he was talking about in the context of residential leads. But then, and a lot of tenants said कि we are not going to pay rent. Now, there is no government mandate, there is no circular which say you don't have to pay the rent. What exactly government intended in the last week of March and the first week of April, that a lawyer should, landlord, the property owner should not insist on rent, and he should not ask for vacating the premise. But then it was taken by the tenants as something that we have a license that we don't have to pay the rent and we can enjoy the property without paying anything to the landlord. That was never the intention. So that was in the context of the residential. Same thing happened for the commercial properties. Now the difference is in the residential one, the tenants are actually living, tenants are actually enjoying the property. But if you make a comparison to the commercial, supposing you have a premise in a mall and you have given this premise on rent to some restaurant. So your tenant is saying कि साहब मैं तो 3 महीने से कुछ कर ही नहीं पा रहा, I am not in a position to open my restaurant, so I don't have any means to pay. I don't know what to do. It's something called force majeure, and it's an act of say government, act of God. I can't pay. So one has to make a distinction that whether it's a residential or whether it's a commercial. Now, even in commercial, you may have two different kind of things. One could be, supposing you have given your premise to a chemist shop. So the chemist people are earning a lot these days because of requirement of medicine and something. So if your tenant is a chemist, So he is willing to pay. But if your tenant is some XYZ entity who is not in a position to operate, then tenant is arguing that, look, I am not in a position to operate, so please forgive your rent for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or as long as this lockdown is going on. So that's a one thing. Second,
कंसेंट डाइवोर्स की केसेस तो बढ़ते जा रहे हैं, क्या करना है इसमें?
sorry, somebody said something.
So I think that was some disturbance. You can carry on with the session, sir.
Okay. So I was just trying to come into that the tenants are requesting that please don't ask us to pay the rent. So in the commercial one, if you look at the different contracts, the contract which has been lease deed which has been executed between a vendor and a tenant, a lot of contract you will be finding with the force majeure clause. But in couple of contract you won't find. So if there is a no force majeure clause, so the landlord will insist on the rent and the tenant will say, I'm not going to pay. If the tenant is not going to pay, so what you are going to do is you are going to encash those post-dated checks, or you can file a suit for, say, possession, depending on the situation. So I am finding that in those sectors, litigation is actually on the rise. Litigation is not coming down. Any comment? Anybody else want to say something?
Hello. Sir, I am audible?
Yes.
So, are we moving in the direction or in the era of digitalization by tackling this COVID-19 situation?
You see, my sense is we are moving towards that. A lot of people who were not using technology as such will start using it. But then if you ask me whether it's a substitute, whether the technology is going to substitute the original, the physical one, my answer is no. You just try to imagine a situation, you are in court and let's say some constitutional matter is going on, say in Supreme Court, then you have 5 judges or 3 judges are sitting, and on the both side you have a different set of lawyers arguing. I don't think using the video conference or say virtual conference, that is going to be the substitute of the normal function. If you put everything on the technology, I don't think what's the use of these courts and all these infrastructure and all these things. I don't think this technology is going to be a substitute of the normal, for sure. So I would say it's a temporary measure. It's a more like a supplementing. It's an additional measure. For example, you are finding that every week or 15 days, you have a cabinet meeting in which all the cabinet ministers are sitting together, though there is a difference of say few meter. So in a room which normally used to accommodate say 100 people, now only 20 people are sitting at a different say distance. So this is altogether a temporary, and I would say a somehow you have to deal with. For example, had situation been normal, we could have an interaction at the college premise, and there was no need of having this say virtual meeting. But then you have to move. You have to kind of somehow you have to adopt it. That's my sense. It's a no substitute for sure.
Thank you, sir.
Any other comment? Somebody wants to join?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Sir, can you hear me?
Yes.
So my name is Pranav. I am a practicing advocate in Supreme Court of India. You mentioned that the virtual hearings are not substitute of practical physical hearings, and I tend to agree with you because on 1st June it is being seen a historic day in the justice administration system for the entire nation, when the Delhi High Court framed rules for virtual hearings.
Right.
But with the framing of rules, there are a lot of problems which people have come across, advocates have come across, and there are, like, for example, Delhi High Court has exercised this power under Article 225 and 227 of the Indian Constitution.
Right.
Wherein, as per Rule 3 of the virtual hearing rules, which Delhi High Court framed, and Sub-Rule 3 of the rules, all relevant statutory provisions applicable to the judicial proceedings. That is CRPC, CPC, Contempt of Court Act, Indian Evidence Act 1872, Information Technology Act 2000, etc. So, sir, as per the Rule 9 of the rules, for exhibiting or showing a document to a witness, the document may either be at the court point or the remote point and can be transmitted to the other end by sending across an image or copy of the document. Right, sir. But Section 62 of the Indian Evidence Act defines primary evidence and secondary evidence, and the image which the image which will be sent to the remote control or the end control will not be considered as primary evidence. So I think High Court has did not look upon that. Along with many other rules, like as per Rule 11.1, judicial remand is the first instance of police remand can be granted through video conferencing, right? So, while proviso B to Section 167 Clause 2 CRPC provides to contrary and bars granting of police custody through video conferencing and limit the use of electronic video linkage. Along with similarly, as per Rule 11.2, the court may examine a witness or an accused under Section 164 CRPC or record statement of accused under Section 313 CRPC through video conferencing.
Right.
So if you look at Section 160.313, amendment has been gone in 2008 when video conferencing was being allowed. But this video conferencing point is not being given in Section 313 of CRPC. I think Delhi High Court has also not looked upon that also. So we can safely conclude that rules provide for certain procedural mechanisms which are either not provided for in the existing legislation or may stand in the direct contravention of provision of other source statutes. Because Article 25 clearly states that you cannot bring any, you cannot frame any rule which are contravention to the existing statutory provisions. So what is your take upon it?
You see, my own sense is these rules and whatever rules they have published by Delhi High Court, I don't think it's going to be utilized except in most urgent cases. For example, if you just look at the kind of cases which is being entertained by the High Court these days during this pandemic, all those are such cases which are most urgent. For example, somebody is going for a bail, somebody is wanting to have some kind of urgent direction for movement, say from Noida to Delhi or Delhi to, say, Gurgaon. Somebody is approaching court for some kind of direction for the migrants. So all these are the urgent category, I would say. The point which you are talking about, say exhibition of documents or tendering of documents, or say examination in chief, or say the cross-examination, I actually don't think these evidence and say examination and the cross-examination is happening actually. And I don't think it's going to happen unless we are going to have a normal court system. I have not come across anybody who is doing the cross-examination in a civil suit, because when you do the cross-examination, either in the civil suit or in a, say, criminal trial, neither in the district court nor in the high court, I am finding any trial is happening. Rather, what the court is doing is, that's also something interesting to look into. In order to decongest the court, decongest the prison, the courts are saying that those who has been behind the bar, say for 2 years or the 4 years as under trial, and their appeal is admitted, so the court is trying to decongest their prison. So what they are doing, looking into it. Same thing is happening in say civil cases. All those cases in which some urgent direction is required to be done, they are doing it. But I don't think actual trial, all these rules which you just cited for the exhibit, for say examination or for the cross-examination or say electronic evidence, I don't think really we are actually in a position to implement at this stage, or lawyers are insisting. It's in both ways. I don't think lawyers are insisting that my case is pending, say, for 10 years, the cross-examination was already done half, and I'm ready to do the remaining cross-examination for the remaining thing through the, say, video conference. I don't think that much is happening, because everybody is just trying to wait and watch, and everybody is under expectation, including me, that the things is going to normalize, say, in next few weeks or say few months. So all these are in the very preliminary in nature. Every day you have some kind of circular giving XYZ kind of things. But then if you actually try to look into whether these are the substitute, for example, if you remember, when Information Technology Act came around in 2000, a lot of amendments were made in the Evidence Act, wherein you have a concept of, say, electronic evidence, that 65B and all those provisions were inserted. So my sense is urgent things are happening. But if you actually ask me whether we are in a position to conduct the trial, I don't think we have actually tried to visualize, but I don't think it's being implemented at this stage.
I agree, sir, but urgent things are also actually not happening in court, because I have filed 5 bail petitions in Delhi High Court with regard to Delhi riots victims who are being arrested by the Delhi police under UAPA Act or the Sedition Act. But the Delhi High Court is not hearing those matters and taking it as urgent matters. They're actually piling it up, and they're actually only listening to senior advocates, designated senior advocates or AORs. They're not actually looking into the cases filed by other advocates as well. So I think these are some of the problems which the Gujarat High Court Advocate Association to be pointed out.
My own sense is what was the normal practice. I don't think we are in a position to do even 1% of that, what we used to do in the normal court system.
I agree.
Right. Any other comments by anybody? I can see there are 17 participants, so anybody can just join.
Yeah, sir, it was nicely answered.
I have one question with you, Mr. Avinash, that with regard to the live streaming of the in the courts, do you don't think that the juniors are and the seniors are given the same, are at the parallel side, where the face reading or the do you don't think that it has given the same parallels to the juniors as well with the student with the seniors in the court? And what is your take on the live streaming as such?
Live streaming of cases, court proceeding?
Yes.
You see, I don't think there is any harm in doing the live screening of the proceedings. I'm telling you why. Supposing if you are in court, you can, as a lawyer, you can always sit anywhere and you can watch the proceeding. If you are a litigant, you can always get a pass and you can sit behind. So it's an open court system. So if it is an open system, if the court proceedings are not in camera, I don't find what is the harm if the proceeding of a court is going to be live streamed. At least anybody can actually see what's going on. And it's also going to decongest the court. For example, some important hearing is happening, say, in court number 1 in Supreme Court. And if there is a live streaming which is happening, say, in library or say bar room, I don't think a lot of people is going to rush to see actual court and actually in all those important matters as compared to the lawyers who are actually involved in that case. Most of the people are just trying to watch the proceeding, what's going on in court, because that's a very important hearing. So if you have a live streaming, of course it's going to decongest, that's a one. It's also going to bring some kind of transparency that you can see sitting at home or in office what's going on in court. So instead of spending 1 hour going to court and 1 hour coming back, you can simply watch the way we are discussing right now, that what's going on in court. Your second issue was the seniors and the junior and the face value. if you look at the Advocates Act, it make only two kind of advocates, senior advocates and the advocates. If you look at the Supreme Court, you have a concept of advocate on the court. Theoretically speaking, all are equal, though advocate on the court is having some special right and the privilege being attached to the Supreme Court. That's a one. And a senior or non-AOR cannot appear and argue in a matter unless he has been instructed by an AOR. So theoretically speaking, everybody is equal. But then, as a human being, we all are aware we are not equal. Somebody may have a better code craft, somebody may have a better research capability, somebody may have a better, I would say, analytical skill. So we all human beings are unique.
Agree with you, sir. It has been a very enriching session, Avinash ji.
Yeah.
And Ashna
I
ma'am.
think other participants, if they want to say something.
Yeah, sir, Dr. A.K. Tyagi this side. I have a query. Like as you told me that government has not given any mandate so far this tenant and landlord relationship is concerned regarding the rent payment, right? So means no tenant can pressurize the landlord that I will not make the payment, right?
Right.
Okay, fine.
You see, it's a very unique situation, and my sense is neither court nor government should intervene, because each landlord and tenant is governed by some kind of contractual bilateral agreement,
Obligation,
contract, or lease.
Yeah, true.
So one simply have to look into.
Yeah.
I'm aware that few lawyers in fact approached the Supreme Court, and their argument was, as long as this crisis is going on, those tenants, those lawyers' tenants who are operating from their different premises in Delhi as a tenant, so they should be exempted from paying rent for this lockdown. But the Supreme Court, and according to me, rightly refused to intervene, because it's a very simple. Supposing you have a tenant, right? Or you are a tenant, under contractual obligation, you are supposed to pay XYZ. At the time of entering into a contract, you must have thought about a couple of things. I have come across, there is a lot of tenancy agreement in which there is a clause of force majeure, which simply says that if because of XYZ government intervention, if a tenant is not in a position to operate from the premise, so during that period, tenant doesn't have to pay the rent. So the court will have to honor that clause if at all it is there. But I have also come across those rent agreement in which there is a tenancy for say 3 years, 6 years, or 9 years, and the tenant are actually using the premise for the residential purpose. So he is very much living there. So under what justification a tenant say, no, I am not going to pay the rent?
Yeah.
Not say forget about that. You are enjoying your property, so you have to pay the rent. Exactly. So I think each individual case needs to be examined from its own merit or demerit. It's not question of being pro landlord or say pro tenant. Exactly. At the end of the day, we have to see what exactly arrangement it has.
True. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Anybody else wants to say something?
Mr. Avinash, we can see there is some positive effect and some negative effect. Right. And as Kamsha said, in his firm, the number of cases are increased, cyber security or cyber crime. Yes. And he also said due to this technological advancement, that there is nothing to be stopped in legal practice. Right. Although Pranav said, since as you said, all advocates are not equal.
Yes.
And so some advocates are not allowed to appear in the court due to some reasons or whatever the things. Yes. So very good session. This thing I am just enjoying very much.
Truly, ma'am. Truly.
I don't know why other students are not interacting. I don't know, but we can see.
Right to remain silent is a constitutional right.
Yes.
Right? So somebody is who is doing.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, ma'am, I tend to disagree that every advocate is not equal because I recently appeared day before yesterday on the migrant issue in Supreme Court as the intervener. So I think every advocate should be considered equal, and that is why Indira Jaising filed a petition that senior advocate designation should be treated as urgent matter, and senior designation should be dissolved. That is the issue.
My own take is physical hearing is going to be resumed for sure, because all lawyers are not comfortable. All lawyers doesn't have access to these technological advances for sure. So, and I was just wondering that what's so special about courts? You see, you have a government, all departments are functioning. No, not at the efficient or they say the maximum level, but of course the doctors are working, the government is working, all XYZ department of the government is functioning. So if that is the situation, I am not sure how long court can avoid this physical hearing. Sooner or later, they need to go back to that. After all, police station is functioning. In one police station, you have, say, 25, 30, 50, 100 police people are there. There are a couple of, say, XYZ people who are coming as a complainant. All departments is functioning. So I don't think the court can, for a long time, can, say, have this hands-off approach. Sooner or later, they have to open it.
I hope, Pranav, now you finally agree with sir.
Yes, I agree, and we all want that physical hearing should start as ASAP.
Sir, do you have any concluding remarks that you would give to our students?
As such, nothing particular, but we all belong to the legal fraternity, be it in teaching or research or practicing or working, whatever. I think as a legal professional, we are constantly evolving, and we just have to, say, increase, or I would say try to enhance our capacity in whatever form we are in. And we are not something that if we are taken leave for 1 month or 2 months, after that, that time is skipped. For example, some peon or some driver, if supposing he is on 15 days leave, so in the 16 days, he will be just performing the natural duty. But we as a legal professional, if we are off from our work for 15 days, on the 16 days, our work is going to be increased because nobody else is going to do that. So supposing if in your agenda, there is an agenda of reading 5 judgments for some case or your own research or for your own knowledge. So even after 15 days, your agenda is going to remain the same. You have to go through it. Supposing you have to prepare one, say, rent agreement, and you are trying to avoid it for, say, 2 days or 3 days, 4th day you have to do it. Nobody else is going to do it. So my sense is whatever time we have, we should think in terms of as an opportunity, in terms of an opportunity to enhance our skill, enhance our capability, and we have to remain positive. Because as a lawyer, every day we are in contact with 10 different people. So somebody may be pessimist. Of course, they have a reason to be pessimist. But at the same time, if you look at the situation, we have to remain optimistic. Optimistic in a sense that if 100 people are getting infected by this virus, in India, at least 97 plus people are recovering. So that's a positive sign we have to keep in mind.
Exactly, sir. Thank you so much for the enriching session, sir. We really enjoyed your session. And I think indeed it is an opportunity for us to explore our interest during this pandemic. I would now like to give the session to Dr. Tyagi for vote of thanks. Dr. Tyagi.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you so much, Ashna, ma'am. And before I go to the formal vote of thanks, I would like to congratulate all my students and special thanks to our guest speaker Avinash Sharma ji to make this session so interactive and wonderful. And he gave number of insights. respected guest speaker for the day, Advocate Mr. Avinash Sharma ji, my dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all of you. And it gives me an immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this alumni meet to all my dear students assembled online. And I would like to thank our guest speaker, Advocate Shri Avinash Sharma ji, who has shared his vast experience with our students and who honored our event with his inspirational and thoughtful speech. And I will just like to summarize his insights on that it is the time when we all should sharpen our skills, we should upgrade our skills, and distance doesn't matter in present time because of the advanced technologies, and his insights for best use of the technology. And a very good query raised by one of our students that means if one door closes, then what to do? And sir very rightly mentioned that if one door is closing, then definitely the other door will be a hope for us, and we would try to avail opportunities from there. And at last, what sir has told, like, don't heap up the work and you dispose your works, whatever assignments you are having on daily basis. So with all these insights, I believe our students would be, just growing for their professional, in their professional life. And I would like to thank our beloved HOD ma'am, respected Dr. Pallavi Gupta ji also, our students, our alumni, those who spare their valuable time to attend this online session. And of course, my all dear colleagues, those who have organized this session in such a wonderful manner. And once again, I thank one and all present online, and special thanks to our guest speaker. And I will just conclude this session by just going for one couplet, that is, बड़े बेसब्र थे आप जरूर ही इंतजार रहा होगा, गिले शिकवे होंगे बहुत शायद सच्चा प्यार रहा होगा. So we love you all, and you are the part and parcel of our GIMS family, and I believe that forever we would be the part and parcel of this fraternity. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Avinash.
Thank you so much, Avinash sir, and the students for joining in.
Thank you so much indeed to all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
sir.
And sir, we look forward for future associations also. We would like to invite you for some guest lectures. We would request Rahul Arora ji.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.